Have you ever made a decision you thought was right, only to discover, much too late, that it changed your life in all the wrong ways? It didn't happen all at once. That's the part people don't understand. It was quiet, subtle, and even seemed reasonable at the time. My children were worried. I was having more falls. I kept forgetting little things, appointments, names, medications. I laughed it off, but deep down, I knew they were right to be concerned. So when they gently suggested I move into a retirement community, I agreed. And at first, it seemed fine. Clean rooms, friendly staff, organized meals, even bingo on Tuesdays. But slowly, like a slow tide pulling back from the shore, something began to vanish. A sense of self, of meaning, of being more than just another name on a clipboard. It crept in quietly, and by the time I realized what was happening, the damage had already been done. This video isn't just a list of complaints. It's a truth that many won't say out loud. I'm 82, and I regret moving into a care facility. Not because it's evil. Not because anyone is cruel. But because there are hidden costs, emotional, spiritual, and human, that no brochure or polite social worker ever tells you about. If you're considering this decision for yourself or someone you love, please stay with me. What I'm going to share could change the way you think about aging, independence, and what it means to truly live in your final years. Let's begin. Number 1, you lose your voice without realizing it. When I lived in my own home, even with its creaky floors and stubborn heater, I made decisions every day. Small ones, like when to wake up and what to eat. But also bigger ones, how to spend my time, who to invite over, whether to leave the radio on or sit in silence. It may not sound like much, but it was freedom. It was mine. In the facility, things change quietly. At first, you tell yourself it's for convenience. Breakfast is at 8. That's fine. Medication is at 9. Reasonable. Group activity at 11, why not? But soon, the pattern is no longer a choice. It becomes a system. You go where they tell you. You eat when they serve you. You stop deciding. You start complying. One morning I asked if I could have my eggs soft-boiled instead of scrambled. The nurse smiled apologetically. The kitchen doesn't do custom orders. That moment stuck with me. It was just eggs. But it was also a quiet erasure of preference, of self. And it happens every day. I used to read late into the night. Now, I feel guilty turning my lamp on past 10. I used to sit in my garden and hum to the birds. Now, there are scheduled outdoor times on a shared patio with plastic flowers in ceramic pots. You don't shout about it. You adapt. You tell yourself to be grateful. But deep inside, your voice, the one that used to say "this is who I am," starts to go quiet. Until one day, it's just an echo. And the saddest part? No one notices you stopped speaking because you're still being taken care of. Number 2, the loneliness hits harder than you expect. People think loneliness comes from being alone. It doesn't. It comes from not being seen. Not being known. Before I moved here, I had neighbors who waved every morning. The young girl next door brought over cookies in December. My barber asked about my dog. My church friends called when I missed a service. I was part of something. I was someone. Now I'm surrounded by people all day, but I've never felt more invisible. The staff is polite, even warm. But they rotate often, and they're always rushing. They care, but they don't know you. Not really. They know your file, your diet, your prescription list. They call you sweetheart or Mr. Jennings, but rarely Charles. They know your symptoms, but not your stories. There's a woman here named Alice. She was a nurse during the war, raised 5 kids, played the violin. But now, people see her as just another elderly woman in a wheelchair. They don't ask about her music. They don't know that her husband used to send her love letters during his deployment in Korea. We eat in the same room, day after day, often in silence. Conversations fade quickly. The same topics circle: aches, pills, the weather. No one talks about dreams anymore, or regrets, or what we still long for. And that, more than anything, is the ache that doesn't go away. I miss being missed. I miss being asked for advice. I miss being looked at with eyes that remember who I was, who I am. Loneliness in a care home doesn't come from isolation. It comes from anonymity. And it cuts deeper than most people will ever understand. Number 3, your world shrinks, and so does your spirit. When you live on your own, even with its challenges, your world stays big. You have errands, unexpected visitors, choices, places to go, things to forget and rediscover. Time stretches, shifts. The days feel like they belong to you. But here, time is a hallway, a schedule taped to the wall. Activities planned by someone else, with little cards inviting you to chair yoga or group crafts. It's not that these things are bad. Some residents enjoy them, and I don't begrudge that. But when your world shrinks to a floor and a routine, your spirit begins to dim. I used to walk to the park 3 times a week. Say hello to the same old man feeding birds. Stop at the bakery for a roll, even if I didn't need one. Now, if I want to go outside, I need someone to sign me out. And if it's after 6 p.m., forget it. I tried to explain this to my son once. I told him, when I lived at home, I had a life. Now I have a system. He smiled kindly and said, "But Dad, you're safe now." Yes. Safe. Like a butterfly pinned neatly in a glass case. We don't talk about how shrinking the physical world affects the soul. When your world becomes small, you stop planning. You stop reaching. You stop becoming. And for people like me, people who've lived full, messy, meaningful lives, that is a quiet death no one marks on a chart. You don't cry about it. You sit with it. Day after day, until your spirit no longer stirs when the sun rises, because it knows exactly how the day will end. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if safety isn't the same thing as living? And what if, in our effort to protect the elderly, we've taken away the very thing that made us feel alive? Number 4, the pressure to be grateful silences real pain. One of the most unexpected burdens of living in a care home is the constant pressure to smile, to nod, to say thank you, whether or not your heart is in it. There's an unspoken rule here: you're not allowed to be unhappy because you're lucky to be here. You have a roof over your head. You're not alone. You're fed, bathed, checked on. And that's all true. But it doesn't erase the ache of what you've lost. It doesn't soften the sting of hearing your grandchildren laugh in the background of a video call but never seeing them in person. It doesn't replace the sound of your own pots clanging in your kitchen or the quiet joy of choosing which cup to pour your tea in that morning. Here, there's a subtle guilt that follows every moment of sadness. If you cry, someone pats your hand and offers a distraction. If you voice concern, you're told to focus on the positive. If you dare to say you miss your old life, you risk being labeled difficult or depressed. But grief is not ingratitude. Regret is not rebellion. And naming your pain is not a betrayal of the people trying to help you. There's a woman on my floor, Frances. She's kind, gentle, and always smiling. One day, I caught her sitting by the window with tears rolling down her face. She didn't notice me. Her hands were folded in her lap like a prayer. When I quietly asked if she was all right, she whispered, "I just miss my kitchen window. I used to watch the seasons change there. This one doesn't face the trees." That moment stayed with me. Because it reminded me that sometimes, the most ordinary things are the most sacred. And when they're gone, you're allowed to mourn. Even if you're well-fed, well-bathed, well-protected, you're still allowed to mourn. But in here, that mourning often happens in secret. In silence. Behind closed doors. Because nobody wants to hear that you're not grateful for your perfect, safe little box. Number 5, relationships change in strange, subtle ways. No one tells you how your relationships will shift when you move into a place like this. Your children, once worried and involved, slowly take a step back. It's not that they don't love you. It's not even that they forget you. But once they believe you're in good hands, the urgency fades. The check-ins become less frequent. The visits shorter. The intimacy you once had, the rhythm of family life, begins to blur and drift. At first, I got calls every other day. Just making sure you're settling in, Dad. Then it became twice a week. Then once. Now it's often Sunday afternoons, scheduled like clockwork. Pleasant. Polite. But different. I don't blame them. They have lives. Jobs. Children. Stress. I've lived long enough to understand how busy the world can become. But when your world has shrunk to 4 walls and a bulletin board, every missed call feels like a weight. Every silence stretches longer than it should. And friendships? They change too. The friends I used to meet for coffee or call on Sunday mornings, they slowly stopped reaching out. Maybe they didn't know what to say. Maybe they assumed I was adjusting fine. Or maybe, seeing me here reminded them of what waits for all of us, eventually. And that scared them. Inside the facility, it's hard to build real friendship. The people around you are kind, but transient. They pass through your life like clouds. Sometimes they leave without saying goodbye, transferred, hospitalized, or quietly gone in the night. You hesitate to get close, because you never know who'll be gone next week. And so, your world becomes quieter. The laughter that once came easily becomes a memory. The conversations shorter. The connections thinner. You begin to wonder who still sees you as you, and who sees only the version that now needs help. Number 6, the quiet realization that time feels different. There's a strange shift that happens when you're no longer responsible for your time. The hours stop feeling like opportunities and start feeling like obligations. Breakfast, pills, bingo, nap, lunch, activity, dinner, sleep. Repeat. You begin to forget what day it is, not because your memory is failing, but because the days no longer feel different. At home, a Tuesday had its rhythm. You'd water the plants. You'd change the sheets. You'd drive to the store just to buy one tomato because you wanted it fresh. Maybe you'd stop for coffee. Maybe you wouldn't. But it was your day. It unfolded in your hands. Here, days pass through you. Like background music you're no longer listening to. One evening I sat on the edge of my bed and tried to remember what I had done that morning. I couldn't. Not because it wasn't important, but because it didn't belong to me. It had been scheduled. Executed. Finished. You start to feel like an actor in someone else's play. And when time begins to lose meaning, something inside begins to fade. Ambition. Curiosity. Even joy. I used to dream about taking a painting class. I told myself I'd try Italian cooking. Now, I struggle to remember what I ever wanted to do with my time in the first place. Because when life becomes something done to you, not by you, dreams feel like luxuries you're no longer allowed to chase. But that's not how it's supposed to be, not even at 82. Final thoughts. I don't share these things because I'm bitter. I share them because they are true. And no one warns you. No one tells you that you might trade your independence not just for safety, but for a kind of quiet sorrow that sinks in slowly, so slowly, you barely notice it until one day you wake up and feel like a guest in your own life. Not everyone who moves into a care facility will feel this way. Some thrive. Some blossom. Some finally get the rest they've long deserved. And that's beautiful. But I wish someone had told me that it's not just a new place to live. It's a new way of being. A different rhythm. A different self. And if you're not ready for that, if you still have a spark of wildness, of choice, of unfinished days left in you, then maybe, just maybe, it's worth fighting to stay in the world you still call yours. Because regret at 82 is a heavy thing. Heavier than any walker. Heavier than any missed appointment or forgotten name. It is the weight of knowing that you let go of your last taste of freedom before it was truly time. If you've stayed with me through this, thank you. Not just for listening, but for hearing me. If you're watching this and wondering what's right for you or someone you love, don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Don't be rushed. Don't be guilted into surrender. Independence isn't always safe. But sometimes, safety isn't what the soul really needs. Please take care of your heart. Guard your spirit. And above all, don't forget who you are, even if the world starts to. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below. Share your story. Or simply let me know that you're here. And if you want to keep hearing these honest conversations, please subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay with us. Your presence means more than you know. Thank you for being here. Truly. See you next time.